Well, guys, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. Hey, absolutely, guys. It doesn't matter.
You want it?
It's a beautiful day for December football. If you're piling into Arrowhead Stadium right now, if you're enjoying some cold winds, or maybe even some brisket or some ribs out at Arrowhead, this is your day. This is your show. It's Kingdom Kickoff. Clint Switzer, Noah Gronniger, and our guy, Rich Baldinger, guys. We've got those mid-November vibes coming in here. It's been a while since we've all been together. How's everybody doing? 5 straight wins for the Chiefs, and we got the Raiders coming in, guys. I feel good about it. I feel like things are turning in our favor. We may just have ourselves a little bit of a championship swagger. Oh!
Wow.
Yeah.
Couple weeks off for Clint. There is some motivation and energy. A bye week, huh? Gave you guys a bye week, and we're ready to go. Well, I would say, Noah, you text me, and I kind of glad it's the silver and black today, because anybody who spends 4 hours stuck in traffic in D.C. during the week, you need to have a Raiders weekend to get rid of the rage. I mean, it's just not an unsettling. It's a rage when you sit in traffic, because you don't know what's worse, the politics or the traffic, or maybe it's all the same. Let's leave it as that before I get into trouble.
Well, guys, a good friend of the show here is George Atkinson. He's been a guest on our show here, Starcade Media, everything that we do since 2012. Former Raider legend, Mr. Raider himself, George Atkinson, a great safety in the 70s of the Soul Patrol out there with Jack Tatum and Willie Brown and Skip Thomas. So I had the opportunity to talk to him last night as he's in town. He couldn't meet. They got in at 6:30. They had meetings all the way till 9:30. They were going over kind of the Chiefs offense and what they were seeing in the defense, kind of their strategy that they're going to have put up for Patrick Mahomes in this offense. And he was kind of cagey with me there. He kept using winky faces and saying, this is going to be interesting. It starts up front. It starts with the defensive line. So we need to keep an eye on that Raiders defense and see if they have some new wrinkles ahead of the Chiefs, because last time we know whatever they had in store did not work. The Chiefs put up a lot of points. They came away with the victory. So keep an eye on a different strategy for that Raiders defense.
Is that what we're going to see? I mean, you got some key injuries for the Raiders. Carl Nassib's out. Lucas Niang back for the Chiefs. Probably still going to see Wiley at that spot. This is just a few weeks ago. The Chiefs went to Vegas and put up 41 points, Rich. So do you expect a different kind of game today? We saw the Chiefs, aside from that Raiders game, really grinding out these wins, 19-9 against the Cowboys, 22-9 against the Broncos. What kind of a game are we to expect out here?
Well, I have to temper my expectations too on this team. The first couple of years here with Patrick, we were just seeing miracles every Sunday afternoon. We were seeing things done on the field that have never been demonstrated before in the National Football League at the level the Chiefs were doing. So we're all sitting there saying, why are we not getting the icing on the cake? And we're just getting a piece of stale cake. But it is a victory. We all know 5 years ago, if we would have had this season, we would have been hooting and howling. I mean, it would have been, every Sunday would have been a miracle for us. But, I think it's going to be a grind. I think right now the comfort level with this offense a little bit, I think some people have been pressing a little hard. And I think there's going to be moments when we're going to shine and there's moments that we're not. I think this offense has become a little bit more conservative because maybe Patrick's not comfortable throwing the ball down the field as much as he's been. We've had the drops. We've had some penalty issues. The penalty issues have come at really crucial times. I know Trey Smith, the rookie, has been the blunt of a lot of those in the offensive line. But you hate to take away what the guy brings you in terms of attitude. So I just think it's been a combination of little things. And I think every week it's going to be a slugfest. I know we can do it. It's just I think there'll be times when we do explode and there'll be times that we're not. I think on the other side of the ball, the question mark is the Raiders, because you just don't know what team's going to show up. There's such a lack of motivation. Last week, I don't know if you guys saw that Washington game, but my first half, it was horrendous. Absolutely. You can see the lack of leadership in coaching, I think, at the head because of what's been happening. Chucky gone, the whole thing. I think it demonstrates itself. Until this team gets worked up and gets into a frenzy, gets punched in the mouth a little bit, they just kind of slide in and out on the field, and that's their issue. And it's going to be a tough game because they know they lose this one, the Chiefs, pretty much their season's over with. So I look for a battle coming either way today.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be struggling to find motivation coming in here. They're going to want another parade around Arrowhead after the game. And we've seen what Derek Carr has been doing. He's been leading the league in passing yards. And of course, we heard the sad news over the weekend that L'Jarius Sneed's brother was killed back in their hometown of Louisiana. So our hearts and our thoughts go out to him and his family. But what does that do for the Chiefs on the field? They've got Hunter Renfrow. I mentioned Derek Carr leading the league in passing yards. What does that do for the Chiefs? It sounds like they will have Rashard Fenton back, but they're going to be without their top corner, L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, anytime you lose somebody the way that his play has been, I mean, across the secondary, guys, even Sorensen, hats off to the guy. I mean, I've been in through my career where you go through things and the world hates you. I mean, you can't even go home to your dog and he snarls at you. It's so bad. So, that I think they played him last week. You know what? Don't let him cover. Just let him blitz. Just let him roam the field. He's such a good athlete. He really is. That's where I think he's his best at. And that's where the big interception came in the game. And of course, he was also involved with tipping away that 2-pointer during the game too. So he's done a lot. I think he is. They put him in key positions. L'Jarius Sneed lost. Yeah. I mean, this guy, his tackling in the open field. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but the tackling since the Tennessee game, I don't know what they've done, but I think they went live without helmets on in practice because this is a different team, the motivation. So without L'Jarius Sneed there, coverage. You like the way these guys have been able to use heavy hands this year where they can get on the receivers and reroute. And, that's what they're going to have to do today. Continue to play like that. Next man steps up and going to have to play. But front four, I think, is what's helped us too. I mean, with Ingram coming in here, there's nobody. I'm telling you, the Raiders right now fear him on one side, and you got Chris Jones on the other side in the inside. It really puts that offense line. Watch for the Raiders to have to max protect today because I don't even think 6 is going to hold up against our 4. They're going to have to keep 7 in to stop us, which limits the vertical routes that they can put down the field.
Rich, when you start diagnosing this offense, you're a former offensive lineman. To me, in the last 5 weeks during this winning streak, the offensive line has incrementally got better throughout this, which is strange because the offensive output is going down. When you diagnose this and what's going on, are we looking at a combination of Patrick Mahomes' uncertainty going downfield or an uncertainty to kind of develop or adapt to what Andy Reid's kind of throwing at this offense right now, which is more controlled passing game? And with that said, are our receivers buying in? Is Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, are they buying in to this offense, or are they out there bored? And, with that lack of concentration we're seeing drop balls, interceptions still happening, off Tyreek Hill's hands. When you diagnose this offense, what's happening right now to it?
Well, I think what the issue is that I really believe in deep down inside, you hear Andy talk after in his press conference. He's like, the guys aren't looking the ball in all the way to their hands, which is telling me they're trying to explode before they've even done the little things. You've watched fundamentals of us for years now. We'll say, since Patrick's been here, it's, carried over from Tony Gonzalez, and now you see everybody across in the skill positions usually look the ball in, put the ball away, high and tight, then make your move upfield. It's like every little thing we can do wrong, we're just not doing. It's not we're doing it wrrong, we're just not doing it. And it's parlaying us out. And then these drops, where they were last week, it stopped, I think 2 drives correctly. It made us punt. So in the past, we've continued because we've done that. I think the unsettling thing is I think in the 2-minute drill, I wish we would have taken more chances down the field, maybe got a quick score there at the end of the first half and really put the screws to Denver, but we didn't. So I think what they have to do is they have to understand that it's a different game. There's going to be a lot of people in the secondary floating around. Whether it's cover 2, cover 1, there's just people in intermediate routes. They're just going to make it harder. Going to put more people, more traffic out there in the ways that keeps them. So what they need to do is make sure they do the little things. And if it's not a 20-yard gain, it's a 10-yard gain. That's okay, guys. That's okay. You don't have to score a touchdown on every play. Just catch the ball. Let's continue to make positive yards on each play. Let's not have the negative plays, because when you add penalties, drops, sacks, missed throws, it seems like every time in a key situation, it's one of those excuses where the Chiefs haven't had that in the past. That's where they need to overcome that if they want to continue for this offense. Because I think right now the offense is just treading water. But it's up to these guys to say, okay, if this is what defense is going to do, We'll play within that, and eventually we'll get our big chunk plays. But they haven't done it on a consistent basis, and that's why I think we kind of just like ride a roller coaster during the game. The momentum's there one series, and it's down the next. Got to be able to play the same way every series.
Yeah, we got to find a way to get them back on track. We have a question here, moving back to the defensive side of the ball from Shane Williams. Snead was the leading tackler in the win over the Raiders last month. Who do you see leading in tackles today for Kansas City? Is it a guy like Travarius Ward, who's also a good tackler out there at corner, or is it one of the linebackers in the middle, maybe a Bolton, Gay, Hitchens? Who do you see as the leading tackler today, Rich?
Well, I think Gay and Bolton have just absolutely elevated their games. I mean, you're watching the film. Mr. Gay, at first I would think, linebacker is where we got to go next year. But these three guys have really come in together. Bolton, but I think a lot of what Spagnuolo has done, though, is he has simplified this defense. I don't care what anybody says. These guys' heads don't look like they're spinning like a top. So many times, I can tell. Give you an example from an offensive line. When you can watch all 22 film, and you watch somebody that's having trouble pass protecting, all you got to do is watch their head, because it'll be like a bobble doll. It's moving. So you know that they're looking at all the fakes. They're looking at all the body movements, so their feet don't move, and they're behind. Well, it's the same thing when you watch the same thing in the linebackers. There's sometimes when their heads are moving and they're seeing so many different things, their feet aren't moving. They're standing in place. It seems like now we're attacking the ball, playing with more confidence. So I got to believe they've simplified things, one or two keys, and go. And I think that that's really helped up front. And, today it's going to be a mixed bag, I think, on tackling. It really is. I mean, everybody's been involved, but you just have to say that you look across the board fundamentally, defense, it's night and day from Tennessee to now. Night and day from little things, from don't stop your feet on the defensive line. Don't stop. Don't try to leverage people. Keep moving to a point. Get separation. Linebackers, don't stay blocked. Come downhill now immediately. Secondary, heavy hands on people. Reroute receivers. Challenge them, and everything. So you put that together, and that's why I just think this defense, you look over the last 4 weeks, I think we're probably number 1 or 2 right now in the scoring just in the last couple of weeks, just on defensive scoring. And isn't that the most important stat for defense? Limiting the points of your opponent, right?
Yeah, giving up less than 11 points a game during this stretch. Chiefs defense is in the top 10 now in scoring, and that's giving up over 21 points for the season. Yep. And 5 weeks straight, under 11. So
this 4 out of those 5 weeks, also 2 guys. 4 out of the 5. Well, last week 150, but only on one big run. Really, you got to admit, the last 5 weeks, what we've done in the trenches against the run.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was ugly the first 5 weeks in the season. And then you see what we've done now last 5. So, and I don't care what anybody starts. Until you control that line of scrimmage, until you can physically control the line of scrimmage, you are giving offenses a two-way street. Once you control that line of scrimmage, you make them have to throw the ball down the field continuously. Now you guys can put pressure, the sacks. We know how good the Chiefs blitz on defense. I think they're one of the better blitzing teams in the National Football League in terms of avoiding contact, getting the people, finding the way to create pressure. You continue that, we'll be successful. And right now, defense got to keep doing it, because this is the way you got to play if you want to win in the playoffs.
Well, Rich, we know you've been a part of so many Chiefs-Raiders games in the past, and we had a question from our Facebook page from Shane Williams that wants to know about the massive Chiefs-Raiders fight at Arrowhead in 1986 when Greg Townsend ripped off the Chiefs offensive lineman Mark Andrick's helmet. Rich Baldinger, you were on that Chiefs team. Do you remember that fight and kind of what led to it? And as I remember, the Raiders started throwing helmets around and started getting rowdy like they do, and they actually came back and won that game, even though that you guys made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, they did. I'm not exactly sure. I think at that time, Greg Townsend was the initiator of that whole debacle. I don't know if I can remember specifically what it was, but I know that he was the catalyst for sending it to a different level and everything. And yeah, I mean, the Raiders are known for this type of stuff all the time in the past. I would have to say I don't think I've ever had my helmet ripped off. So, the Raiders, you're always known for things like that. But I was always of the focus, guys. If you spend 1 second, especially against those guys, now I will give them credit. These were some of the best athletes always in the National Football League. The Raiders. They were always great athletes. Greg Townsend. I mean, we all know about Howie Long and everything, but go down the line. These guys were always superior in terms of speed, quickness, get off, doing a lot of things on top of being a nasty, you know what, it's family house. So I'll leave it as that.
Exactly.
So, but you know what, if you got into the other thing, I always said, if I got into the other thing or started thinking about that, these guys would just embarrass you on the field. And being I was the worst athlete to ever play in the National Football League, I couldn't spend much of my time on some of that.
We know that's not the case.
Well, Rich, let's go from
They
1986.
always made it fun. I mean, they made it fun, but you know, it's but you got to come out there. I mean, you just know you got to hit them. You got to hit them for 60 minutes. That is the way. Bottom line, there's no plays off on these guys because they can roll. And as I said, my nemesis always was Greg Townsend on the outside, and till this day, some of the things he did physically, you were just like, wow, that's a 270-pound man. That's been like, if I did that, I might be in a triage unit right now. So, these were always good. And it was always of course, division rivalry. And it always seemed like it was into the playoffs, where you won and everything. And so that's where I kind of carry that over today. I know the Raiders, this is it for them. And, they're going to go in terms of playoffs. And then you got to look at the coaching change. I don't think they're going to stay with head coach. How do you pronounce his name? Is that Bisaccia?
Rich Bisaccia.
Yeah, I think teams have finally figured out that maybe given the head coaching job as special teams coach is probably not the best in terms of keeping team going. I listen, nothing away from special teams coaches, but I don't know if they have the dictates to be a head coach. So I look at the Raiders being in a mess after this season's over, especially they don't go to playoffs. Head coach, there's going to be changes. Will Derek Carr be the quarterback next year? All that. Mike Mayock, what is it? 2020 draft. He's lost both first-round draft picks, 2 of his thirds. It's a mess right there now. So that's why I think today, the first half, the Raiders are going to come out like lightning bolts. They have to. If not, it's going to be a long offseason.
Well, we'll see how they come out, but let's take a look at your keys to success for the Chiefs to come out on top today with a victory, and here they are.
Yeah, I think, with the Chiefs, I think we've got to continue to establish the run, guys. I think there's just so many options we can do with that. Tyreek can get involved with that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks like he's healthy more now. We can involve the sweep, trap, pitch. I think it's a Raiders defense right now that has improved against the run, but some of the injuries, especially with Perriman in the middle, I think it just bodes well to establish the line of scrimmage and work your play action and then eventually over the top with some big plays. On the defensive side, guys, you got to deny Hunter Renfrow. He's really their catalyst, runs the best routes. There's nobody in the short passing game that does as well as him. I'm surprised he's not in a New England Patriot uniform. But simply,
he will be.
Yeah, he will be. If anything. And, and that's why I want to see today for this game, offense, let's just get in consistency. And you know what? Who really cares? Look at New England. They went in and said, we're going to throw 3 passes and beat a team on the road and physically dominate. And Buffalo had 9 men in the box. So when I always hear people say, you can't run, what do you mean you can't run with 9 men in the box? Hit it in the right crease and boom, you're out the door. That was unbelievable what New England did. And that just demonstrates, folks, if you want to know who's on top in the AFC, I guess we got to go back and eat, clam chowder and everything else up there in New England. But that's why I think you see their defense the way they're playing, but offensively, they have the mindset that, we're going to do what we have to do, and we really don't care what you're going to do. So, Chiefs, take a little bit of that and do what you have to win the football game.
For both of you guys, I want to start with you, Noah, and I'm going to get to Rich after this. Do you guys believe that maybe this is the most coaching Andy Reid has had to do in many years? Patrick Mahomes arrives here in 2018. In 2019, our game plans in the playoffs led to double-digit deficits in all 3 games. Patrick Mahomes goes out there, jet chit wasp, get it downfield. Tyreek's down there somewhere. It's been working out. Do you believe that Andy Reid has totally had to change the identity of this offense, Noah? Because to me, when you look at what we've done in the last 5 weeks, it's a slow process, and people aren't all maybe buying in yet. It's working, and this team's covering spreads, and it's sustainable. To me, it's sustainable. Rich brought up what New England's done. Maybe there's a little bit of a switch in what's going on in the NFL when it comes to coaching offense. This high risk, high reward stuff, maybe some coaches are starting to rethink this a little bit. Noah, what do you think?
Well, I just think as the season's gone on, he kind of thought the offense would work itself out. They'd be able to figure it out. And as it's kind of fallen off here and tailed off, they're just trying to have to figure out, okay, We're struggling. How do we get back on track? We need to focus on this run game. The offensive line is starting to find its way and come together and gel. And the receivers are dropping balls. We need a short passing game. We need to get some safe throws for Mahomes. We need to try to get some easy targets for these guys because they're having problems catching the ball. We know what a lot of teams are playing, this too deep shell. The Raiders like to play this cover 3. We'll see if they continue that today. It didn't work for them last week.
Yeah,
so
that's Bradley. I don't think
it
didn't work very well for them at all. They get much pressure. But I agree with you, Noah. I agree with you. I think that Andy thought a lot of this would work its way out, but it hasn't. But, we're going to get the running backs involved in the passing game. I just don't know why. I mean, listen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming out of the backfield, catching the ball is going to beat any linebacker. You're going to have an 8-10-yard gain every time, right? Williams has said that it's done the same thing. McKinnon. So they're not. So I think we got 3 running backs that are adept at catching the ball. Get them involved in the passing game. If the wide receivers aren't going to catch the ball, then don't use them. Put him on the bench, and that's it.
Where McCole Hartman's found himself.
Yeah, exactly. He was supposed to be a vertical route guy, but just hasn't become one. He just hasn't learned how to adapt in Andy's offense in terms of on the fly, reading the defense, but also the leverage with the way they play. If they're playing a 2 shell and they're playing inside leverage, then work the outside route. So he hasn't been able to pick that up on the fly. That's why they've limited it. And this is his 3rd year now in Andy's offense. So, receiver now is going to be one of those guys. It's definitely going to be somebody. But, hey, if the offense find a way to win, if it's with a running game, play action, passing to your backfield, then eventually hitting some verticals, that's the way it's got to be. Then that's fine. We'll keep winning these close football games. But you know what? At the end, all they care is you got W's.
Yeah, no question about it, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here on Kingdom Kickoff as you're filing into Arrowhead Stadium, getting into your seat, getting your last cold one for the day before you settle in for what's going to be just a tremendous day. The weather's high of 55. We're in December. Guys, this is when these games really matter. There are 17 of them this year, so we're going to be able to do it one extra week, and it looks every bit like this Chiefs team is loading up for a run, buddy.
And Clint, and let's not forget one thing. Let's end the show on one point. This is going to be the toughest 5-day stretch for the Kansas City Chiefs because no matter what you do today, no matter what you do today, you have got a barn burner team that you're going to see in terms of the LA Chargers.
Yeah.
Who get the Giants today, so they're probably going to win.
Exactly. So Herbert's going to be there. Now, I know there's some issues on their defense stopping the run and some of that, but that offense can explode. And so you're going to have to bounce back. So when we talk about Andy Reid's coaching, over the next 5 days, we're going to find out about Andy Reid because this might be one of the toughest stretches in his career to keep this team focused, especially if Chiefs don't come out on top against the Raiders. You got to bounce back against these Chargers quickly, or if you do, either way, it's going to be tough mentally for his team. We'll find out where we're at, and I think it's going to be a telltale sign for us on where this team is going in terms of playoffs.
These next 2 games are.
Well, in 5 days, the division's over. We're going to know. I'm sorry, mathematically. We know, but in 5 days, Chiefs are 9-4 after that, or Chiefs are 10-4 here in 5 days. The division's over.
Yep. You're exactly right on that.
And that's
but then we're also going to find out, how did they do this? How did they win those football games? And if it's a smash mouth ugly,
right,
it's going to be smash mouth ugly. No, to answer your question, it's going to be smash mouth ugly all the way through the playoffs.
Yes,
because you're going to go with what you're doing. You're not going to try to make the one thing Andy's not going to do is a lot of wholesale changes. If that's the focus and the philosophy, stick with it. Because trying to change week in, week out is tough to do a lot of times, especially with injuries and just getting people on the same page.
Yeah, excellent stuff, Rich. We always appreciate it, my friend. Enjoy the game today, guys, and go Chiefs.
Take care, guys.